Great. Thanks, everybody, for being here. This is going to be kind of a unique session that we typically don't have here, but we think we're going to have a lot of, we know we're going to have a lot of fun with it, mainly because of who we have here and what they represent. But what I want you to do is take a little trip back in your own history. Think about when you were a kid. Think about a song when you were a kid that if you heard that song today, you would remember all of those lyrics. And there's plenty of those songs out there. And now think about if that song was something that told you how to take care of yourself or other people around you, the impact that would have on health. I want to show you an example.
Now if he don't sound right, then he's doing the stroke. Sway when he walks, then he's doing the stroke. Slur when he's talk, then he's doing the stroke. Call 911, cause it ain't no joke. Now X for the face, and X for the arms, X for the speech, and T is for the time. Time to do what? Call 911. Time to do what? Call 911.
Let's talk about salt, baby. Let's talk about MSG. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that we eat. Let's talk about salt. Let's talk about salt. Let's talk about salt. Let's talk about salt.
I got the vaccine, you got the vaccine, they got the vaccine, we got the vaccine. We could get back to normal, let me inform you, let's all get the vaccine. It's about community immunity. I'm talking unity for you and me. If Doc says it's good, then trust me, it's good. Now let's all get the vaccine.
Wash your hands, everybody, and everybody, wash your hands.
20 seconds.
Come on, wash your hands, everybody, and everybody, wash your hands. My people uptown, wash your hands. My people downtown, wash your hands. People from the East Coast, wash your hands. People from the West Coast, wash your hands.
I suggest you talk to your family, your inner circle, and screaming and proactive, and it won't hurt you. We all want to live our lives the best we could be. Go check your colon. Peace, I'm Chuck D. Save lives, and peep the deeper meaning of the cancer. And get a screening. Save lives, take control of your health. Get knowledge for yourself, and it's the real wealth.
I've been hiding in the shadows from the kids and all the babies. It's amazing, they go crazy, and the kids will always play me. In the salad dressing, ice cream, and the muffins too. You can choose any topping, and I'm there for you. Get your burgers and fries from Burgerland. I'm the villain that's hiding in the soda can. Hide and seek, he's the fool, I made a fool of you. It's true, I'm very proud of what I'm doing with you. I got 99 names and little sugar's just one.
And that's just a sample of what they have out there. Hip Hop Public Health. These are the co-creators behind it. And so I want to make sure I introduce them. Most of us probably know who they are, or at least Dougie Fresh. So Dougie Fresh, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, first of all, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Gotta have your mic right. Well, first of all, it's just, sounds like it's a little, give me a little more, Sam, just a little bit. Just let me say, yeah, it's all right. It's all right. How y'all doing? Are y'all all right? How many of y'all happy to be at the Aspen Ideas Health Extravaganza? Well, I am Dougie Fresh. I am the fifth element in hip hop. Here's a quick little breakdown of hip hop. First, you have the DJ. How many of y'all ever been to a party and you seen a DJ? Okay, that's one of them. The second is the MC, also known as the rapper. So now this is Dr. Williams, but AKA Hip Hop Doc. All right, so now he is now a rapper / MC. You'll see that later, but that's number 2. Number 3 is breakdancing. Did anybody here ever break dance before? Breakdance. And if you try to break dance now, you would break, right? Number 4 is graffiti. Graffiti, which is the colorful drawings that we did in New York City. And number 5 is the last element, and that is the beatbox. That is the spirit, the human sound, the energy force. And I'm the creator of the 5th element, and I'm happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's my quick breakdown.
There you go. And the other person, which we saw yesterday at the opening session, if you were there, Olajide Willliams, G-Day. Talk to us about yourself.
So I'm much more boring than Doug. So I'm a neurology. I'm actually a professor, a tenured professor of neurology at Columbia University, where I'm also the vice dean of the medical school. And I've been running research, NIH-funded research on health disparities for a couple of decades now. And Dougie and I started Hip Hop Public Health. And we're here to talk about that, and I'm very, very excited about that aspect of our work. I've always believed that we as physicians cannot afford to limit ourselves to the four walls of a hospital, because the truth of the matter is that health begins outside of the hospitals, in our communities and in our homes. And Hip Hop Public Health was just a way for us to take that step into the community and start doing the real work. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yes. See, he's not really that boring. You see what I'm saying? You see that? You see that?
And true confessions, both my kids were into hip-hop. They actually did it at their school. My daughter was part of a class hip-hop team that actually won their state 5A hip-hop or athletic championship. So they beat cheerleaders out and everything else. It was fantastic. So they had me do hip-hop things with them. I didn't break anything at the time, but I guarantee you if I did it now, I wouldn't be up here right now doing this. But G-Day and Dougie, both of you, talk to me about your origin story, how it came about that you two joined up and decided to do this.
Well, I'm going to start it, you finish it, all right?
Go ahead.
So this is what happened. Have anybody here ever been to New York City? Anybody from New York? Anybody here in New York is where you at, where you at? You see what I'm saying? So I live in this special part of New York called Harlem. If you ever come to New York, you must come to Harlem. Trust me, you'll appreciate it. Long story short, there's a vegetarian restaurant on 125th Street. 125th Street runs from the east side to the west side. So I got a call from one of my young men who I taught how to do the beatbox when he was younger, and he would teach me electric boogie move. We was having a good time. So Dr. Williams was dealing with him because he was having some issues. They had a conversation. I don't know how this conversation happened, but they started having a quick conversation, and my name came up in the conversation. So when my name came up in the conversation, he said, "You know him? You know him?" So after that, he got me on the phone. It took a little while because I toured quite a bit. But when he got me on the phone, we met on 125th Street at a vegetarian spot that I go to. My son was having a problem with coughing, and I was trying to figure out, like, what is this, And, New York is, New York, So I was trying to figure it out. He came in, Dr. Williams came in and gave some information, and boom, he helped with my son with just that information. And on top of that information, he drove up. Now, I'm telling y'all a true story here, okay? This is real. He drove up. Anybody in here grew up listening to hip hop? Any of y'all? Okay, good. So you'll understand the story. So he drove up in his car on 125th Street, pulled up in front of the vegan restaurant, playing Mobb Deep loud. Now, I did not expect that kind of a doctor. I was like this. Is this really him? And he's talking over the music. Yo, okay, you ready? You ready? And I'm like, wow. I said, this is not a normal doctor here. I said, I might be able to do something with this guy because he seemed like he had, and anybody, I heard Queens is in here, so you know Mobb Deep. He was playing Shook Ones. Ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. I said, oh my God.
Scared to death, scared to look, they shook.
So that is the beginning of the story, and this is a true story. You finish it.
Well, he didn't tell you that it took me 6 months to actually get that appointment to meet him. So it's funny because when I met my patient of mine who introduced me to Doug, I was running the electrophysiology lab at Harlem Hospital at the time. And I don't know if some of you have had electrophysiological testing before. They shock you with electricity and they put needles in you. So he was really, really anxious about the test. And I swear to God, after he mentioned Dougie's name, it must have been the most painless test that he's ever had, because Doug was my icon at the time. I'd grow up listening to the show and La-Di-Da-Di and All the Way to Heaven. And so when he told me he knew Dougie, I was like, this is incredible, because at the time, I was actually in the process of starting a stroke initiative in Harlem. The death rate from stroke in Harlem was just catastrophic. We had a new treatment at the time called TPA, and we needed community mobilization in order to get more people to the hospital. So I had already started working in the churches, but I veered towards hip-hop through some focus groups that I did with some kids. And so when he said he knew Doug, I was very, very excited. And I called Doug's office for 6 months. And the first question I got was, what's your budget? And I was like, budget? And so in the end, Doug, did everything pro bono, and that's how we got here.
Yeah. That's a true story, by the way.
That's what I can imagine. Having lived in New York, I can imagine that's a true story, only because I know how New York works. It's fantastic.
New Yorkers know what I'm talking about, too.
Why hip-hop? Besides the fact that hip-hop is something that you guys are both aficionados in, why hip-hop? Why do you think that resonates with kids in particular?
Well, I'm going to first of all speak as a neurologist, and then Doug can speak as an artist. But music is really where the power of hip-hop comes from. I say this everywhere I go, that music, if you think about its representation in the brain, it really does occupy more areas than language in our brains. It's one of the reasons why music has such a primal effect on our mood, on our ability to learn, on our ability to de-stress, on just motivating us. If you think about what music does for the human body and the human soul, it's really limitless. And so for me, music was just a natural strategy to bring into public health. And the question is, what type of music? And all you have to do is walk down the streets of Harlem and you listen to kids reciting songs, from beginning to the end. And some of these rhymes are quite sophisticated, right? If you listen to a Nas track, you know what I'm talking about. And they can recite it from the beginning to the end. And so I started wondering, why couldn't we use this as a vehicle for educating them about signs and symptoms of disease and helping them use this approach to learn? And that's really where the idea of music came from. And the focus groups really narrowed the music down to hip-hop.
And Dougie, looking at some of the titles here, and I'll go over some of the titles you have for those who don't know. You saw it in that little 2.5-minute intro we had. Stroke ain't no joke. Let's talk about salt. I got some issues that nobody can see. How do you come up with the ideas for these things? And how do you come up with the idea of how you're going to incorporate that into this hip-hop rhyme, like you mentioned, that people are going to remember, kids are going to remember? And we'll talk about this, but you also mentioned the fact that this is successful. Kids are saving lives remembering these things. How did you pick all these?
Well, for me, it's really, I've been doing hip-hop since I was 13 years old. I learned from what I would consider the masters of this. I learned from, there's a guy named DJ Hollywood, Curtis Blow, Lovebug Starsky, Busy Bee, Cold Crush, Grandmaster Flash, and the Furious Five. I was the little kid that learned from them. So I don't really know how I do it. It's just I do it. You know what I mean? It's no thought to it. It's no plan. Dr. Williams would give me information. When he gives me the information, I know how to digest the information and turn it into something that everybody can understand and absorb. I know how to do it for somebody very young, somebody older. It doesn't matter. No matter what race you are, you're going to get it, because it's just, it's my gift that I know how to present that. So when he told me about stroke, which was, you know, I learned so much from him about it. Stroke is the #1 debilitating disease in the world. And then my friend Sinbad had a stroke. How many of y'all know the comedian Sinbad? And then Jamie Foxx had a stroke. I just did a performance for him where we honored him on the BET Awards. And so it made me realize that the work that he's doing needs to be given to us as people in a way that you can digest it. Sometimes, you know, the nomenclature of his language, which is, you know, it could be so difficult to understand if you're not a doctor because you don't understand all. I mean, it took me a minute to understand some. And so we sit down and then I'll say, okay, I understand it. So then that's when we came up with FAST, which is F is for the face, you know, you see the symptoms from the face. A is for the arm, you can feel it in the arm. S is for the speech, starts to slur. T is for the time. Time to do what? Call 911. So he gives me the information. I know how to take the information, put it in a musical form where everybody will be able to remember it without you actually having to sit there and remember it. Because you're gonna sing it, you're gonna dance to it, you're gonna pat your foot to it, or you're gonna remember it because you just like how the flow was. So that's what we did, and then we did it in schools all over, and a lot of the children who learned this saved their parents' lives, saved their grandmother's life. I mean, this is what it's about, right? And the last thing I'll say about it is that I've always felt that me and him meeting up was something that was supposed to happen because hip-hop has always been a tool to me. Like, it's unique because hip-hop is pieces of things. Hip-hop is not just itself. It is pieces of things. That's why you could hear it in jazz, you could hear it in pop, rock, country, everything. You'll see it in everything because it's pieces of things. So for us to take hip-hop and use it in this positive way to change people's lives, that's what it's all about. So I think that I learned it at that age because the way I learned it too, you can't learn it the way I learned it. You know, this would be like I learned it from the Old Testament of hip-hop. You know what I mean? Say some of the new guys is the New Testament of hip-hop. But the Old Testament has things in there that you don't learn no more, and some people don't practice. So I've been able to learn these things and take them from generation to generation with the help of Doc. And that's why we're here at the Idea Spot, baby. This is it.
And you know, a lot of this is about respect. And respecting, especially in communities of color, whether you're in Harlem, whether you're where I come from in the middle of the country, Latino communities, it's about respect and respecting the children. You guys are not doing simple rhymes. You guys are doing, like you mentioned, fast. This can be a complicated thought process, but you're respecting the kids enough to say, they will understand this. I just need to deliver it in a way they can understand that.
Right, and then we put a dance to it. Then I put a dance to it, because you know, I am the creator of the Dougie also.
There you go.
You ever heard of the Dougie? You know the Dougie?
I have heard of it.
I got to get your kids to do the Dougie. You know.
Thank you for not making me do it.
Right.
But you know, one of the things that really frustrated me as a frontline physician and as a stroke neurologist was, quite frankly, I really felt that public health was failing to communicate with the streets. And a lot of the messages, a lot of the health education, a lot of the communication about health conditions just wasn't reaching our inner city streets. If you look at the health education materials that are available for our communities, it's just not culturally resonant. It doesn't resonate with our communities. And yet, you know, our communities and communities like ours that live below the poverty line are driving, you know, 50% of the healthcare budget in this country. And yet, health communication is not reaching the streets. And so there's a huge public health gap there. And for me, you know, it's simple. We have to make our public health efforts, we have to bring it closer to the lived experiences of the people we're trying to reach. And what could be a greater lived experience for this generation than building it through hip-hop? So for us, I'm just going to say something really quick. So Aristotle, the great Aristotle, I'm not a big fan of his, but I respect his work, talked about persuasion using 3 components. He talked about ethos, which is you need credibility to be persuasive. Logos, you need data to be persuasive. And that's where our research at Hip Hop Public Health comes in. And he talked about pathos. And pathos is the emotional connectivity. It's building emotions into persuasiveness. And one of the things that public health was failing to do was to bring the pathos into our messages, bring that emotional connectivity into our messages. And that's what we don't do well as physicians. That's what the public health community doesn't do well at all. And we thought that we have to figure out a way to do this on scale, at scale. And what could be better to do something like this at scale than to use music? Music is already emotionally connecting. It is the Trojan horse into the minds of the most resistant people. Look, sometimes I'm having an argument with someone and a song comes on. And all of a sudden, we're not arguing anymore. We're connecting to the song. That's the Trojan horse power that music has. And if you see what it does to these young minds when we come to them with our curriculums across this country, within the school system, it is dramatic. And we have RCTs to show that it's been dramatic.
Right, this is not guesswork. You know, this is real. This is proven. And saying what he just said, even in the way I would say, you know, hip-hop public health is the voice of the inner community, of everybody. Like, we help you get the job done. We help you communicate to whoever you want to communicate in a way that they will be able to understand it and apply it, which is different than just hearing it. That's what we do, right?
That's right, Dougie.
And, you know, one of the things I frequently talk about, too, is that oftentimes physicians in the media, we preach to the choir. We talk to the same people over and over again that are listening to our message, and we miss that huge component of people that don't listen to it. Yet you guys have cracked that nut of saying, let's make it entertaining, let's make it science-based, let's make it understanding, and let's make it entertaining.
Edutainment.
You know, health literacy, this is a sobering statistic, but health literacy is responsible for or drives up to 54% of premature mortality in this country. Up to 54%. Health literacy. What is health literacy? It's not just the ability to obtain information or understand information. It's also the ability to act on information. And navigating health is a complex business. And to deconstruct it through music, it's incredible what we're seeing. And we address multiple domains. Stroke is one, but we have so many disease content areas. If you go to our website, hhph.org, you'll see over 250 resources that are free to the public.
Free.
We have health MCs.
Hold on, I think you gotta say that word again.
Free to the public.
Free. Somebody say free?
Free to the public. And we have to because, you know, we want to make sure this reaches everybody. We have health MCs. An MC in this case is called Masters of the Classroom, which we have in all 52 states. And these are the folks who sign up with us. They get our train-the-trainer modules and how to use our curriculum, how to use our resources. And they could be anyone who has the privilege of working with young people in this country. But we also published a model called child-mediated health communication. And this is what I think is special about what we're seeing with our work at Hip Hop Public Health. We flipped the paradigm. Traditionally, health education flows from the child to the parent, from the parent to the child. That's a traditional model, the parent to the child. What we're finding in a lot of these communities, especially low literacy communities, we can flip that model and send health education from the child to the parent. And we published that data to show that we can actually do it effectively. And a lot of these parents in a lot of these communities just don't have time. They're too busy hustling to start studying about, you know, nutrition or dementia or whatever it might be, to able to use a strategy that can reverse the direction of health education, we found to be very powerful.
Plus, you're building the future because you are talking to these kids now that are going to become adults at some point, and they're going to carry that with them. Like I mentioned, we all remember these things from when we were kids, these rhythms, these rhymes, these lyrics.
And what was it that Frederick Douglass said that's always stuck in my head? Frederick Douglass said that it is easier to build up a child than to repair an adult. That's real. And that's what we're trying to do.
And Doug, I'm just curious, what reaction do you get from the hip-hop community?
Oh, it's beautiful because as you see Salt from Salt and Pepper, you know, she's on board.
That was genius, by the way.
Right. She loved it too. She loves it. And then we got Chuck D from Public Enemy. We have DMC from Run DMC. Ashanti, Ariana Grande did work with us, and Jordan Sparks from American Idol, Raheem Devon from DC. We mix it up. We take artists who understand what this mission is about. Jadakiss from The Lox, you know, he started doing juice bars and stuff like that, and, you know, just doing different things in the community. And what's happening now is so many artists are being, you know, their health is being affected, you know, so they come to us, we try to give them, you know, tools and information, and then if we need them to come to a school, they'll come to a school. If we do an event, they'll come to an event because they understand.
They'll write a rhyme.
They'll write a rhyme, whatever. You know, my kids, they're writing rhymes in this, you know.
Beautiful.
Yeah, my concept is this, and it's very simple. If everybody does a little, nobody has to do a lot.
One of the things that it was interesting we found out during the pandemic is at NBC we started a program called Nightly News Kids Edition. And the main reason we did that is because we thought kids were going to be scared about the information they were hearing about the pandemic. And we got questions like, you know, we knew COVID was affecting older people. Kids would say, oh my gosh, are my grandma and grandpa going to die? And so we would address things like that. We addressed it in a way that we thought was we're targeting the children, but then we heard from a lot of adults, I'm listening to it too. I'm getting some information. Who's your target audience?
So we target children primarily, but we use what I described. It's child-mediated health communication. If you go to our website, all our publications are listed on our website. So we use this paradigm to educate their parents. So children are our proximal targets, our direct targets. Their parents and their grandparents are our indirect targets, are our distal targets. And we've shown through our approach that you can generate incredible effect sizes in terms of outcomes from at the direct and the indirect level using our approach.
We talked earlier, a few days ago, about what we were going to talk about here. And one of the things that you mentioned, G-Day, was that, number one, we'll talk about this, the fact that this is science-based, but number two, some anecdotal cases of people whose lives were saved because of this. Talk about that a little bit, both of you.
So this is one of, it's so interesting because we weren't even expecting the results. You know, it was a hypothesis, right? But anecdotes, you know, are anecdotes. But when you see it, when you're randomizing 1,500 parents and 3,000 children, you start seeing it in the data. It's a game changer. So we have so many kids now. I mentioned one of the kids at the 2-minute Big Ideas yesterday, and I'll never forget this kid because he's a 5th grader, goes to school in a public school in the South Bronx. His dad goes into the bathroom, develops facial paralysis, his arm drops, he slips and collapses onto the floor, and he's mumbling. And the mom runs in, she helps get him up, gets him to the bed, puts him down on the bed, and then Daniel, who did a hip-hop stroke class in one of the schools, because we were in his school, recognized that his father was having a stroke because of the music and the content. The mom wanted her husband to sleep it off, and we would call the doctor in the morning wanted to give him an aspirin, sleep it off, you'll get better, because she didn't really understand what was going on. She thought with rest, he'll get better.
And as we know, time is brain.
Time is brain, and every hour a stroke occurs, you lose 2 million brain cells. Exactly 1.9 million neurons die per hour a stroke is allowed to continue. So Daniel has an argument with his mom. He says, Mom, we have to call 911. Mother said, no, he'll be better in the morning.
And this is a 5th grader.
5th grader, John, a 5th grader. He overrules his mom. He calls 911, and they get his father to the hospital in time for clot-busting treatment. Now, when you hear that, because of a song, it's crazy. But what was even more incredible was a decade later, my own mother in London, where I grew up, my mother was having symptoms of a stroke. She was slurring her speech, and she had a little facial weakness. And my older sister, this is crazy, said, I remembered your song, Jide, and I knew Mom was having a stroke, and she called 999 and got my mom to the hospital. Thank God she's okay. And so when it happens at that level, it's like the whole world needs to do this. That's how real this is for me.
And to add on to what he said, you remember when my father was having the symptoms of a stroke. He started having different things, and I knew what was going on, and I automatically got him to the hospital. So for us, this is not about, I mean, we don't make no money from this. Just so you know, let's get that out of the way too. I keep it so real. There's no money being made. We put money into this because we know how important it is for us to stay healthy, for us to help our mothers, our fathers, our grandmothers, you know, and for the children to grow up with a better, with stronger information that they can apply and pass it on to their children, so we could stop this cycle of what's been going on out here, you know. And look, some people believe in what we do, some people question it, but this is what I say to those people. A good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. So we get moving on things and get things done. That's why we're here. You know, we're here to share these stories, and hopefully in your lives, no matter what walk of life you come from, you'll feel the honesty in the story, the intention. You know, you'll feel what we're looking to do. We're just looking to save lives and change lives. That's it.
Which is beautiful, and that's what it should be. Beyond the anecdotes, are there studies that show that this is working?
Yeah, so there's a study we published in Stroke. This is an NIH-funded study. We randomized 3,000, just over 3,000 children in the New York City school system to the hip-hop stroke intervention versus an attentional control. And our primary outcome measure was really stroke literacy, not of the children, but of their parents, using the child-mediated health communication model that I discussed. And just to backtrack really quickly, one of the reasons why we have focused on recruiting artists of Doug's generation is because that's the generation having all the strokes and heart disease and all the consequences of poor lifestyles right now. That's the generation. So when the child is being educated with Dougie's music or Chuck's music or DMC's music and using our child-mediated communication model, we give them homework activities, very musical homework activities. And they go to their parents and they do these homework activities with their parents. They go, Dougie, what's Dougie doing? You know Dougie? Or you know, that's from my generation. So they pay attention. So it was a deliberate, intentional strategy to work because they are our ultimate targets. For our kids, we want to build that behavior, that healthy behavior in them now. But they're not at risk for stroke now. They're not at risk for heart disease now. But they're at risk for the lifestyle trajectory that leads to these conditions like diabetes and hypertension. So we also have focused programs on that. So anyway, so this randomized trial, which you can go to the journal, go to our website, read the data, showed that not only could we be able to build stroke literacy in the children, we were also able to build stroke literacy in the parents and their grandparents without ever meeting the parents or their grandparents. It was indirect, child-mediated communication. But the byproduct of that, it was, you know, these R01s are over 5 years, if you know the NIH world. The byproduct of that is that year after year, more kids that we were tracking were reporting strokes in their grandparents and their parents and their grandparents. And we started collecting these data and these stories, which was a byproduct of the intervention. And since we scaled nationally, we're seeing this all over the country now. So it's real.
And like you mentioned, that's health literacy going from children to adults.
Reversing that paradigm.
Has this been fun for you guys?
I'm always having a good time. I'm gonna keep it real. You know, this is what we call, we came up with a title called A Party with a Purpose. You know, a party with a purpose. You know, we like to party. Imagine you're partying with a purpose. So the purpose is, how do you change lives? How do you make the world a better place, a healthier place? So many people are sick, don't even know what to do, why. You know, when I mentioned Sinbad, very close friend of mine, you know, he had diabetes and had a stroke. You know, then some people have high blood pressure, they don't know it, then they have a stroke. So we've been pushing for people to just get checked, you know, go get your checkup, you know, because that's been a big thing in our community too, where a lot of people didn't want to go get a checkup. I mean, my father, this is real conversation. My father, when we took him to the doctor, they said, when was the last time you went to the doctor? He said, 45 or 47 years ago. And he's in great health, but he didn't know he had high blood pressure. So it's just making people more proactive.
Trust. It's a trust issue as well, right? So you need credible messengers. And that's what hip-hop is. It's a credible messenger for a whole generation.
And that's why we did the work with Michelle Obama. We did the Let's Move campaign. They called us in to do the album. We created the album. We brought the artists together. And, you know, we wanted America to become more healthier. We wanted to, you know, motivate people, but at the same time, make it fun. I think you can make learning and knowing information fun. It doesn't always have to be, I'm sitting here.
As you said, edutaining.
Edutainment.
Exactly.
Remember that, y'all? Remember? You know where you got it. You know where you got it.
I want to open up to some questions here. So anybody has questions? Man back there. Are there mics or just, oh, here we go.
I'm loud.
That's okay. You can go ahead.
She said, I'm loud.
Yeah, no, not a problem. So I'm Haley from Touch the Black Breast Cancer Alliance, and we're doing a lot of work with clinical research and patient navigation for Black women to be a larger part of the science and get medicine that works for us, because it's now proven that the black breast cancer cell actually looks different, right? And so that begs the question of what other cancer cells look different in different populations. And so I'm wondering if you guys have thought about doing anything about clinical research, clinical trials, patient navigation, and then also, have you thought about like how to reach to young girls, because like women are the ones making these choices in their households often about health, and so how can we also reach that population?
So I can say that when we recruit kids and their parents. The parent we recruit is the parent that is the responsible caregiver of the child. And 70%, maybe higher, I'll have to look at the data, but at least 70% of the parents in our studies are women. They're women. And so often if you do school-based programming, school-based interventions, you find that it's usually the mothers that you're dealing with. And so yes, we're reaching African-American and Hispanic children. We actually have many of our materials in Spanish as well, just FYI. So that was the first question. The second question was about clinical trials. That's a huge one, right? Clinical trials is a huge one. And we have to approach it. We don't have an intervention right now. Right now, I've been doing a lot of formative, qualitative research, really looking at a lot of the drivers of of low trial participation in clinical trials from our communities. But you know what's interesting? I'm finding trust is not the rate-limiting step. It's the institution. I'm at Columbia, and so I just happen to have been leading our diversity in clinical trials initiative for the university. And the institutional barriers are the biggest challenge. And so I would have developed a hip-hop intervention a long time ago if we thought that it was at the level of the community. But you can do that, drive them into clinical trials, and they'll run back out again because of what they're going to encounter when they get in. So you have to first build the capacity inside institutions before you start driving the demand. And so that's why we haven't developed an intervention for the community. We work on the community side.
Man back here.
Thanks so much for the discussion. I really appreciate, Dr. Williams, that you raised the issue of trust. I think that is something we are all really grappling with in public health, is around trust and credibility, obviously hundreds of years, but including through the pandemic. And so I was wondering, sort of, what are the ways in which you are seeing using music and hip hop as specifically sort of making that shift in terms of trust? And are you thinking about that with any new issues? I'm particularly thinking about the amount of disinformation around vaccines and how we can use music to bridge this gap around trust and credibility with public health.
Great question. Really great question. I'm just going to borrow, I don't know who said this, but it's so profound and it's true. Trust occurs. Sorry, change occurs at the speed of trust, right? Change occurs at the speed of trust. And one of the things that is fundamental to trust is relationship building. Unfortunately, the public health community likes to parachute in and out of communities with different initiatives. Boom, we want you to do this, and everything's good, and then they leave. And then the funding leaves. And so the relationship ends. And imagine you and a friend, and all of a sudden you don't hear from a friend for 5 years until he needs something again, and then he jumps back into your life and, hey, would you trust that friend? No, you wouldn't. But that's how we've been treating these communities. And so what we need to do is build a sustainable relationship. And how do you build a relationship? You build a relationship by getting to know folks. How do you get to know folks? You get to know what they like, how they like it, what they enjoy, what they love. You get to know them. And then you center the things that you both enjoy as the hallmark of that relationship. Unfortunately, we've been centering the things that we want on the medical side. What I love about hip-hop, public health, and music is because, yes, the public health is critically important to us, but you know what? They're worried about putting food on the table. They're worried about that next rent check. And so coming to them with public health messages, it's like, wait a minute, there's a mismatch here. But if you come to them with music and you slip in that message, they're like, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm enjoying this. We're both enjoying this together. That's how you begin to build a relationship. You know, one of the things kids used to say to us, they couldn't believe that we were bringing hip hop as a health instrument to they were like, you guys care about us. You care about what we care about. And so that's what I mean by, change occurring at the speed of trust. And that's why hip hop, it sounds simple, but it's powerful. It is powerful.
Yeah, trust is a very interesting thing. You have to earn trust, but you have to have a chance to do that, you know. And there's faith also involved, where when we were doing what we're doing now, people were questioning, will this work? Even in the beginning of hip hop, which is now a multi-billion-dollar business, I come from the generation where they said, get that guy off that mic. I come from the generation where nobody thought hip hop would be here in 2025.
50 years, baby.
50 years of hip hop. Check, check, check. 50 years of hip hop and a multi-billion-dollar business. I mean, so after you continuously do something, you have to, you know, there's going to be trust there. There's going to be trust. And I think that what we do most of the time is we're on the ground also. So we're relating to them on their level, meaning we're not just researching and then we're giving it to you. No, we're living the experience, which becomes different. We want to know, what are you really feeling? Like going to a school, we've been to, how many kids? Like a couple of 100,000 now, right? We've been to schools and we're engaging with the kids. We're engaging with the parents. This is something that changes everything. You trust like y'all are gonna leave here trusting me. You're gonna trust me when you leave. You're gonna say, you know, Dougie came all the way to Aspen for no paper. I had to throw that in there.
There you go.
As shallow as that was, I had to throw that in there. Because he loved health, wellness, and he wants us to have healthier lives, and he's up here enjoying, you know. And look, I'm looking at this clock, and I'm feeling the pressure of this clock. Because time is of the essence. Now, you the man.
I am the man, but only here.
Should I be paying attention to this clock?
Don't worry about it. We're good.
All right, okay. So that's my point. I'm here because I know we need to get together to make this change and make impact. And we can do it together. If everybody does a little, nobody has to do a lot. Trust me, I'm telling you.
Right here.
The battery is dying.
Thank you so much for edutaining us so beautifully this morning. I'm just going to shamelessly use that. My name's Mo. I'm a pediatrician from London. And I just turned your whole origin story into a movie, by the way, with the soundtrack and everything. Thank you for sharing that. I only heard about you in the context of signing up for this conference. Well, not you as individuals, but the Hip Hop Public Health. And I've just gone down a whole rabbit hole. And as a pediatrician, I was particularly intrigued by when you follow the children, that more of them are going into healthcare professional roles as they grow up, which is, I mean, that's the ultimate pipeline program ever. My question is, I'm from Lagos via London, now Boston. From a global perspective, what does international collaboration look like? Is there Afrobeats public health for
Absolutely.
Lagos? Is there soca for the Caribbean?
So
like to just take over the whole world with
that's
this
what
as a
I'm talking-
movement?
so
This is Lagos, I'm the Caribbean.
Got it.
So
You got it all right here.
it was interesting. I got a methods paper to review on my way to Aspen. We have an R01 in Lagos right now. We're crowdsourcing. We're working with kids all over the country, crowdsourcing content, and we did these songathons, and it was incredible. But we came up with some winners, and the whole thing is focused on hypertension awareness, and the kids that actually won the best song that we're going to use for the intervention were kids from a school of the blind in Lagos. And it's unbelievable. But the power that we're seeing, even in Nigeria, using Afrobeat is unbelievable. I have a trip to Mumbai in October, actually, because we are partnering with a school on the outskirts of Mumbai, and we're going to be doing some qualitative work to do this in Mumbai, but we're focusing on nutrition in Mumbai. And so this can be used. Look, music is universal. It could be salsa, it could be Afrobeats. It's universal.
Right, I have an Afrobeat. I have some music coming out Afrobeat right now. And you said London. he's from London. You know, he's from
I have
London.
the same trajectory as you, by the way. I've lost my British accent, but I don't know. It's you should hear my.
I remember back in, some of y'all may be too young for this. I was out in London back in '85. I did Top of the Pops.
Yes, that's right.
But just music. I remember coming from New York City and I went to London in '85. You know, that was like wow. And when I got off the plane and I seen London and I seen them all dancing to the music and listening to the songs, I never knew that the music that I would make would reach the other side of the world. And that's why I'm involved with this, because I know this will reach everybody's world. I'm telling you. And you're gonna be shocked at how much a song can just change the world.
Thank you, guys. Unfortunately, we do have to look at the clock
You
a
see what
little
I
bit
mean?
here. See
You
what
see
you
what I
mean?
mean? I knew it. I knew it.
You knew it was happening.
I knew it. I felt it. I felt it. Well, can I get 2 minutes?
I think everybody knows, I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, knows what beatboxing and hip-hop is, but can you please give us an example?
Only if the doc is going to say a rhyme.
I'm giving you the stage.
Can I get three more minutes of y'all time? I know y'all ready to go. They don't want to hear this. They got to go.
Yeah, they do.
They got to go. I don't want to rush them. You know, I got my new sound man back there, Sam. You know what I mean? Give him a little beat. Give him a little, you know what? Give him a rhyme that explains why we are doing this and why hip-hop public health became, okay? And I'm gonna give it a slow beat.
Freestyle.
But let me first get the groove first.
Give me the beat, Doug.
All right, first now. All right, but y'all gotta interact. So here you go. Clap your hands, everybody. Everybody, clap your hands to the people in the front. Clap your hands. People on the side, clap your hands. You can clap a little harder. Clap your hands. Watch. Turn the mic up.
Bass, speech, and time is that sign to never ever cross the line. He stopped drinking and smoking and started thinking about the kind of food he was eating, and it changed his life forever. And some of his kids sometimes exercise together. You know what? Here we go. Atrial fibrillation, AFib for short. 4 heart chambers beating as 1, 2 at the bottom, 2 at the top. Heart beats irregular, causes a blood clot.
That's a little baby example. But before I leave, I gotta make sure that y'all really understand what this is. 2 more minutes.
Do what you want to do.
Sam, give it to him. Turn it up. Turn it up a little bit. Okay, now watch. This is where y'all come in. I'm not gonna go in the concert till they bring me back next time. You know what I mean? But for right now, turn it up a little bit more. Some of y'all that grew up in hip hop, here's a little sample so you'll never forget it. Here you go. Let me clear my throat. All right, see? Hey, y'all know it. Have mercy, baby. I hope you don't mind. Let me clear my throat. Watch this. Hey, at the Aspen Ideas, as we go a little something like this here. Now this is where. Now who want to help like I do? Who want to help like us? Let me hear you say, I do.
I do.
If y'all want to help like us, and you know changing things is a must, say, I do. Now when I say hip, y'all say hop. Hip, hip. When I say public, y'all say health. Public, public. When I say hip, y'all say hop. Hip, hip. When I say hip, y'all say hop. Hip, hip. Stop. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're sitting next to somebody in your table that you don't know, can you say hello to that person? If you're sitting next to somebody across from you, can you say hello? And I want you to see, this is how simple it is for us to change the world. If everybody does a little, nobody has to do a lot. I want to thank you for giving us the time to show you what we do, the sincerity of what we do. And I hope that when you leave here, you have a better understanding and a better appreciation of hip-hop. And I want you to know that wherever you see me or you ever see the doc, remember, we are on the front line to help make this world a better place. Thank you. Turn it up, Sam. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate you, and thank you so much for hanging out. See y'all later.